So this 1 week was the introduction to Flutter. Today I want to get into the brief summary and structure of what we're going to be learning to allow or will become masters in no more than a year that I'm planning. We'll start with important Flutter and Dart, fundamental and base syntaxes, core features and foundational concepts we need to build mobile app user interface. We then will dive into advanced features after getting the core foundation, and we'll learn to handle user interactions, how to customize styles, and build multi-screen apps for a few examples. And lastly, we'll learn the more advanced concepts like how to animate apps, connecting the backend, or using native device features like the camera in your app, and all that you'll need to be the bag-making app developer. To learn, I'd recommend you to practice on your own and come back to code snapshots if you're ever stuck. I'll link below the code snapshots of the course that I'm learning, and you can check that as you follow me, since you don't have to pay anything. From tomorrow, we'll learn to start building our first basic app, which allows us to roll a dice and generate the appropriate image for the number. And that's going to be the overview. This is day 9. So the first app we're going to be building allows us to roll a dice, and it will allow us to also write quite a bit of code and dive into many crucial Dart features which we're going to need. Now that I've given you an overview to all the files and folders that we created, let's get back and take a closer look at our main.dart file. Now if you can see, there's a code already written in this file, obviously, but this initially isn't understood by our devices. So what happens is this code is parsed from top to bottom and analyzed by Dart, and then is translated into what the target platforms can understand and therefore execute. Basically, it is compiled into its native machine code. Now I want to tell you that this course is for people who don't have any prior coding or Flutter experience. So if you do, then you can skip this section and use your time to your advantage. This is day 10, so I'll just get started right away because we got a lot to cover. And we'll just take a general approach to this code instead of going through every single line. So what we have to understand is these codes are made in combination of different words. There are 2 types of words that we have to know. The first are the keywords that is built into the programming language and have specific tasks, such as import command right here. I'll explain to you what those means later. And second, we have what's called identifiers, which are defined by developers, such as my app here could be anything else like this app or anything you want it to be. But I would have to change that on all other parts of the code. Now this comes to an advantage when we use code editors like Visual Studio Code, which has features called syntax highlighting, which assigns different colors for different words or to show like errors. Now you don't learn code by memorizing by heart all the keywords in the language, but it's about solving problems. This is day 11. So today is where it all comes down to, since we're actually going to start writing our code. I'll make sure all the code in the main.dart file are deleted so we can get started from scratch. Now, how do we give instructions for Flutter to the program? It all starts with this one key instruction that you must have in every Flutter app that you're building. That is run app instruction. That is run app followed by parentheses and semicolon. Run app is actually a function that comes from Flutter and is built into the framework. But now this instruction is all about getting that app up and showing the user interface. However, if you see here, there's a squiggly line, which means an error has occurred, and you can see the details by hovering over it. And it says function body must be provided. This is because in Dart, it is not allowed to have a function like this without a main body wrapping the instruction. For that, we must create a custom function like this. You type void followed by the name of your custom function, which in this case it has to be main. I'll tell you later why. Then parentheses and the squiggly bracket. This is your function name. This is called return type, which I'll get back to soon. And this here, opening and closing brackets, is called the function body. So this is the code that should be executed when the function is executed. So your apps do not really run unless you tell it to. So this is where you define a function, and this is where you execute or call a function. You can see we get this another error in the run app. This is because there is no defined code for your run app. So where should run app come from? Check back from tomorrow to find out. No, we don't have much time, so I'll see you guys tomorrow, and thank you for watching. This is day 12. So we saw that the code editor does not find the run app function, though I already showed you the run app is a file in the Flutter framework. But while writing code, you have to be explicit and tell your code that run app is coming from Flutter, because there are hundreds of other frameworks. It cannot just guess which one it comes from. For that, the first important step is to go to pubspec.yaml file here, because here you can refer to your dependencies and other frameworks from other libraries that you want to borrow your code from. And if you go to dependencies, you can add any third-party packages which you want to use. Now here Flutter is already added, but make sure this already exists. Now to connect that to your code, you simply have to import it by command import and provide the path with double or single quote, which is more common in Dart, so I'll just use single quotes. And then add the name, type package, and the name of the file. And then, since we want to get access to a specific, we have to put / material doctor. Then it ends with a semicolon, so basically all your statements must end with a semicolon. The error is gone now, as you can see, but there is a different error, which we are going to tackle next. So stay tuned. So this is day 13 of learning how to code. So we learned in our last lecture that defined functions need to be called from somewhere to be executed. But how exactly is this main function being executed? You don't have to call it like this, since the main function in the Dart program is a special function. That's also why these instructions above it were automatically added above it, because the main function is the main entry point of the Dart app. And it will be activated when you run your app all at once. And of course, this run app is also very important, as it tells Flutter to show some user interface and what to display. Now lastly, we have to fix this error that we have at the moment. It says that an argument is required, but it is important to understand what arguments exactly are, and also which kind of argument is expected here. This is day 14. So what exactly are arguments? Well, functions can be defined like the main function with no input value, but as you can see from the Flutter source code, they can be defined as such, that they do require an input value, and that's the part between these parentheses. And these values are called parameters or arguments. Since in Flutter you don't use a visual drag and drop, but instead use what is called widgets, like the screen is showing here, and you combine multiple and nest it to each other, where you will get a widget tree. So it looks something like this. This is where you may have a root widget at the top, then a child widget, and then another child widget, and then multiple other child widgets depending on what user interface you're building. Easier way to explain is you can have a text widget where it displays text inside of a button widget, which there is a button. So the main question is, which widget do we need for the run app, and how do we add a widget in a code? Check back in tomorrow to find out, and I'll see you. Thanks for watching.